Come on, let's feed the fish. Ooh, can we see fishes, girls? What colour are the fishes, Jasmine? Orange fish. What about you?
One is red.
Okay, there's a red fish there. And there's
No, on cheek.
oh, it's on her cheek.
Wait. Okay, I won. Now I'm calling your parents.
You're gonna read a story? Yes, we are. Are you gonna read to Sophia then? Come on then, get this book. Yes, it's got big eyes. Look at the eyes. Where's eyes? Where's eyes? Where's eyes? Look.
So during this coronavirus lockdown, I've just been trying to read to the kids a bit more often. Yeah, fish, yeah.
Yeah, what else? You're still playing? What are you reading, Jeremiah? The crocodile. Oh my god, let's see the crocodile. Wow, the crocodile has big teeth, isn't it?
On Sunday, Mom took JJ to Granny's house. I'll go get Dad, Mom said. I won't be long. Gran is soft and warm and full of hugs and kisses. Kiss, kiss, hug and cuddles.
Hi guys, okay, so this is the last video in my Lockdown Homeschooling series. Here's a recap on some of my other videos. In the first video, I talked about the fact that now that your children are at home, even though it might be temporary, that you basically are responsible for their education. So some of your children will attend schools where your teachers have given you worksheets to do, which are really beneficial and really helpful. However, I just wanted to kind of show you that, you still have the overall responsibility of what they're learning at home. And just like to kind of chill out a little bit, not to worry, and just make sure that you've got a happy home. In my second video, I talked about how we can get through it. So I tried to give you some tips and some encouragement about how you can get through home educating your children at home, things that you can do, things to think about, and I showed you a few examples of things that we do within our homeschool. In the third video, I talked about a curriculum review. I only focused on Key Stage 1, which is Year 1 and 2, and a bit of EYFS, which is reception children, and I only focused on the subject English, but you can view that video now to find out if there's any materials that you could use at home during your lockdown homeschool. In video number 4, I talked about maths review, and with this maths review, I looked at resources that I have in my home that you might want to choose to use with your children at home as well. In video number 5, I gave you 30 tips of things you can do at home whilst educating your children. And in video 6, which was done yesterday, I just showed you a bit more about inside our home, how we prepare for school, like the weekend before we go back to a new term. I hope you enjoyed those videos, and in this video I'm just going to be talking to you a little bit more about some materials that I've used with some of my students that you might want to use with yours too. So I'll just be reviewing maths workbooks and English workbooks. And at the end of the video, I'll be talking to you about another YouTuber who I find really good, who you might be able to go over to her website to find out a bit more about how you could schedule your timetable now that your children are at home.
Okay, let's talk about English. These are some of the books that I've used with my students over the years. So let's start off with these no-nonsense range for English. I did use these and I found them quite helpful for the Year 3 student. But I feel as though workbooks on their own won't necessarily help. You have to make sure that you're teaching your child English in a different way. But if you want to find out how I teach English now, you need to go to my home education videos. But because I teach children in mainstream schools, I try to stick with the national curriculum when teaching them to make sure that they're on task. English is broken up into many different sections. So for English, you have speaking, listening, writing and reading. This covers spellings, first of all. You've got grammar, punctuation, comprehension for the first term. You've still got your how am I doing test. You've got your spellings, your grammar, your punctuation, your comprehension, your how am I doing test, and so and so. I don't really use these in the same way that I use maths. So if a child had these books, they will purchase the book and they can slowly start working through them by reading what's in the grey box and then answering the questions. And then they have the self-assessment at the bottom. So they use the same method the whole way through. Comprehension at the end. And then they get tested over here. So that's what these books do. Now, the reason why I have a little bit of a problem with them is that I find that children are quite good at answering questions to do with English, but when it comes down to using these skills in their writing, they don't really apply them. So this is like the mechanics of grammar that you're teaching children, but I don't think they understand how to necessarily use them correctly. So, many do. Maybe other people might have other ways of explaining it, but I prefer to teach grammar now in the context of writing. You can find my premium course on my website where I teach creative writing to children in year two and 3. That's my premium course P. I've got a premium course for level A, which teaches children writing for children in year 4, 5 and 6. And then I've got my premium course B, which teaches writing to year 7, 8 and 9, and some of my year 6 students join that lesson too. So these are okay. I don't know, it's a bit bittersweet. I've used them for a long time, but the reason why I don't really focus on like these as much, because it doesn't really show you what the skill is. If a child gets a question wrong with the reading comprehension, it doesn't tell you what that skill is that they need to work on. And I'm more inclined to use books now that show me the skills. If they have a problem with fact retrieval or inferencing, I prefer to use books that do that. But these partly do the job, but I think it's just packed with too much information and it can get a little bit confusing for children anyway. Like, for example, you're looking at silent letters over here. It's showing you how to underline the silent letter, but I'm not sure how much of that they really take into their minds to apply it another time. It's just more like a practice book. It's like busy books. But anyway, you might find those interesting. You might like them for your students. So I've got the 8 to 9 range here, the 9 to 10, or the 10 to 11. I've got the 10 to 11 as well. I mean, if there was no quarantine lockdown, I'd literally just be selling these on Facebook because I'm moving away from them. But they're okay. Again, the same thing with the workbooks. These ones over here are all the books I bought over the years. I can't believe I bought so many books. And these are for year 6 pupils. My own children use some of these books, but it's the same sort of method. So once you've done the no-nonsense range for each year group, you then could move on to the assessment papers. I quite like these assessment papers. They're quite snappy and short. So I do quite like I like the 10-minute range papers. So yeah, they're okay. All right, so with these books over here, you've got the grammar book, Grammar 5. This is the teacher version. I bought both of these. They're okay. They give quite a lot of information about, what the different grammar terms are. So for example, this one, grammar, irregular verb to have, it will tell you the aim, the introduction, the main point, the activity page. These are quite in-depth and quite detailed as well, if you want something like that. You'd need to get the pupil book as well, and this is just a teacher's guide. This has got really good reviews on Amazon, very intense word-focused lessons on mastering 11 plus Key Stage 2 vocabulary. I think they're very good. It's very, very detailed. The child gets to learn lots about different languages. In here, they have like different activities that they can do to practice the skill. I think these are good. I don't think it's necessarily needed for just the Key Stage 2 and 11 plus. You can use it beyond that age. So I do like these books. And then I've just got a range of workbooks, self-explanatory really. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these. But if you like the workbook type of method for English, these are some of the books that I've used. This one is to achieve the highest score in English. These are quite good. It gives you detailed knowledge about all the grammar terms, the punctuation usage, spelling usage. It's got the glossary and it's also got the answers in there as well. I quite like this. It will say things like adjectives, tells you how to achieve the highest score, things you need to know, practice. You practice together. It tells you how to answer the questions, and then it's giving the child questions that they can do on their own. As you go through the book, it builds up to like longer style questions. yeah, my children have really enjoyed these ones actually. So I'd recommend this one by Rising Stars. Grammar, spelling and punctuation, the highest score to achieving the highest score. Study book, this is just good just for like a reference book, just to check your knowledge. This one of my students bought this book. I don't really recommend it personally. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend these books, but they're okay. They do what they need to do. It's just the fact that, again, when the child answers the questions, you'd have to know what a what style question is, what a where style question is, and know how to help your child with comprehension. But I think living books are much better than just having these reading comprehension workbooks. But you might like it. Again, that's by Bonds as well. Reading. These ones, I haven't used them much actually. Yeah, it's just general answers really. I don't think there's anything so special about these ones. They're okay. But they're just more like practice books, just to practice answering questions. So they're okay. These ones are all multiple choice. So again, they're just okay for practicing. I quite like the 11+ study books. It's a parent guide because it gives you all the information for the verbal reasoning test. But these are quite useful in general for English skills. It talks about how to prepare for the 11+, what is the 11+ verbal reasoning test, and then it tells you how to prepare for the test. This is for spellings. It explains what plurals are, homophones and homographs. So these are good as like a reference tool, again, just helping you to understand, you know, different language devices and different meanings and silent letters and prefixes. So this is quite good as a reference book. And then the same as I showed you before, the Rising Stars, this one's for the expected standard. So like I said, I've moved away from these type of workbooks for my students, but they can be quite useful. It depends on what you're really into. Like I said in all my other videos, every family teaches differently. If I had to recommend a book, I'd recommend these ones, the ISEB range again. And what I like about these, because it's an actual whole workbook, so your child would need a lines book as well, and pencil and paper. But what I like about these, what the other books lack, it talks about the skill focus of each section. It's got questions, and then you need to buy the answer booklet separately. I've got the digital answer booklet. So with this one, section 1, it tells you what the topic's about. It's about the hedgerow. It explains you what a hedgerow is. The skill focus of the question in this book will be based on retrieval questions. So it talks about the comprehension, what you need to do for the comprehension. It gives you a reading list for children in year 3. It explains that retrieval questions often have these phrases. For example, who was, where is, when did, what was, find and copy, and list. So a child will know that when they're looking for these type of questions, they know that it possibly is a retrieval question. It gives examples of the first 2 questions and how to answer them. You practice together, and then you answer the questions. But this is, again, over here is like a practice together. So you work it out together to figure out how to answer the questions. And then you move on. So then from this bit, the child will then read another text by themselves. The words are bolded if they're retrieval questions, so the child knows what to look for. It gives examples of speaking and listening activities, and every chapter has 2 comprehension tasks to go through. Then it has a grammar section, a punctuation section, spellings, vocabulary, and lots of speaking and listening activities, and then a writing section. I quite like these. And you move on. The next one will be the skill focus will be inferencing. Yeah, which is when you basically are trying to work out the meaning from a clue. And it just builds its way up. So I actually really like these books. And they had them for year 4, year 5, and year 6. Same type of thing. So each year will still build on the same comprehension skills. Again, retrieval and summary. Inferencing, but it just gets a lot more in-depth, a lot more detailed. So I'll definitely recommend these, and I'd recommend you get the answers as well.
Alright, so we've come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. So the lady is called Jamelia. You might remember her from some of her songs back in the day. She's been homeschooling her children for about 19 years now, and I've only just stumbled across her videos, but she has a really good video about how to schedule your homeschool timetable. So I'll put a link at the very bottom below there. You can check out her video there to see how to schedule your homeschool while you're at home if you want to. Just a few tips that I can recommend to you. Alright, so I'll speak to you soon. Bye.